everyone. I have some very interesting tastes when it comes to games that I enjoy. An example of that strangeness would be that when I first started playing tabletop games, I wanted to play a sorcerer that was essentially a bloodbender on steroids. To call forth the very blood in one's veins to use as a weapon against them, or drain them, or to use my own so that I was always able to fight as long as I still lived. Those were things I wished to be able to do. When I was introduced to Blood Magic, a 5th edition wizard tradition by Joshua Rainick, link in the description below, I had hoped that this supplement would be able to fulfill my desires. This book has several things in it to add blood magic to your D&D 5e game. There's a primal path for the Barbarian, a fighter archetype, a sorcerer's origin, and the wizard's arcane tradition. With all of that said, I want to go straight to talking about the Barbarian's path, Blood Rage Savage. As a Blood Rage Savage, you feed from the pain and anguish suffered in combat to inflame your rage. The shared blood of vengeful ancestral spirits burdens your heart with a murderous lust quenched for a brief moment when your blade bites skin. The Blood Rage Savage is the primal path option given to us in the Blood Magic supplement. There are several things I enjoyed while reading through this primal path, but I also felt there were some things lacking. Firstly, let's start out with what I think the author did well. I found the flavor text given in the different sections for it extremely well written and helped give ideas to the player for how a Blood Rage Savage should be played without going into the mechanics of it. The author also did a fantastic job in describing the types of deities this character would worship, giving us options such as Malar, the Beast Lord, for his rule of bestial savagery and bloodlust, and Ilmater, the broken god of those who suffer and the oppressed. My favorite aspect mechanically of the Blood Rage Savage is called Reckless Cleave. Beginning at 14th level, if you hit with a reckless attack while raging, every other creature within 5 feet of you takes damage equal to your rage damage bonus. The damage type is the same as the melee weapon damage type you use for the attack. I personally enjoyed this path feature as it broke away from the other path features which I felt were lacking in... I'm not sure if it's lacking in originality or if it's just lacking in the theme that this book kind of promised. While I enjoyed the flavor text and felt there was a lot of thought given on things like themes and background information on the primal path, I did find several things I didn't particularly care for. My first was the other path features. Together, they felt almost like the spell Hunter's Mark, but split into different sections and spread across levels. I don't think that was the intent of the author, but that is how the descriptions came across to me. An example of that would be Blood Tracker that you get at 6th level. It allows you to have advantage on wisdom survival checks to track any creature you previously injured, as well as on intelligence checks to recall information about them. To me, it feels like more love and thought should have been given to the Blood Rage Savage to make it more involved with, well, blood and rage, and maybe have some other more mystical elements for it to be in a book about blood magic. I do love what the author has written and believe that given a little more time to finagle some things, this could be a really interesting path for the Barbarian. The Blood Thrall. Within the deepest reaches of night, bound through blood to serve a vampire or demonic overlord, you linger in a realm of madness from which few ever return. The strength of your dark master pulsates through your veins, and whether from a forbidden ritual or enthralling kiss, it empowers your resolve. Though free from loathsome servitude, the haunting voice of your master forever beckons you to return. Ah, the Blood Thrall. This is an archetype for the fighter, so you would be choosing this at level 3. This archetype is particularly great if your character has been enslaved or coerced to work for an evil overlord and has since become free. Joshua Rainick has, again, done a beautiful job in his flavor text and background information. He has provided themes to help a player be able to decide if this is the archetype they are wanting for their fighter character. We are again given helpful information on what kind of deities this archetype would worship, if any. We see Ilmater again, but Kelemvor, the Lord of the Dead and Judge of the Damned, is also a valid option that fits with the flavor of the Blood Thrall. Lathander, the Morning Lord, is also given as an option for Blood Thralls who want to worship a god of renewal, birth, and self-perfection. And, of course, we see Malar again. This archetype has quite a bit of options for gaining temporary hit points. In fact, at 3rd level, you gain Blood Drinker, which allows you to gain nourishment from the blood of your victims. When you hit a living creature with a melee weapon attack, your attack deals an extra 1d8 points of damage. If the target is large or smaller, it must also make a strength saving throw. If they fail, you gain temporary hit points equal to the roll of your extra damage plus your strength or dex modifier. It's your choice. Even though you can use this feature twice between rests, this is pretty intense. And at 10th level and 18th level, the damage die is going to go up to a d10 and d12 respectively. While I don't have time to go deep into all the other features of this archetype, I do want you to know that a lot of what is here is really neat. At 7th level, you're able to pick a permanent new feature. For example, my favorite option is Shadow Life, which allows you to gain an additional 5 temporary hit points if you use your Blood Drinker feature and the target fails its strength saving throw. While there are plenty of great things in this section, some of the features fall into that issue I had previously, where they didn't feel like they quite fit with the theme of this book. Shadowed Blood, for example. It allows you at 10th level to regain hit points equal to 2d6 plus your fighter level when you use your second wind feature while in darkness, or 2d8 when you hit 18th level. I personally do not understand how this fits well into a book on blood magic, as the only thing it really includes blood-wise is the fact that this is extra healing. My other criticism involving the theme of the book would be Agile Evasion at 18th level. You are going to be using the dodge action as a bonus action, but once you use it, you need to finish a rest of either type before you can use it again. I feel, again, that this feature could have been better thought out thematically and should have included something with blood for it to fit into this book properly. Overall, I believe the Blood Thrall would be a fascinating character to have in a party. It would have a consistent struggle within themselves, and the archetype is detailed in a way that I think would benefit most parties. I absolutely also love that this does play around a bit with actual blood magic. King's Blood. I need to be completely upfront about the Sorcerer's origin. I love it. I absolutely love it, and I want to use it next time I play a Sorcerer. I also might have a little bit of a bias towards sorcerers, though, because it's the first class that I ever played. I personally don't think this origin starts getting really great until 6th level when you get Life Spark. This is going to let you capture a small portion of a hostile creature's soul as it dies from you using a melee or spell attack. This soul portion is called a Life Spark, and you may use one of these per turn and gain a benefit depending on the creature type. You'll be able to hold an equal number of life sparks as your constitution modifier, and if you take a long rest and still have life sparks, they will pass to the other side. There are some creatures that will require you to make a life spark saving throw to resist its effects. The calculation for the life spark save DC is equal to 8 plus proficiency bonus plus charisma modifier. Until you reach 18th level, you're pretty much going to be at the whim of your DM on what life sparks you're going to have access to. So if your DM is just going to have you fight humanoids and beasts, you're only going to be able to have access to those 2 creature types abilities. However, when you reach 18th level, you'll gain Shape Life Spark, which will let you decide which benefit you get no matter the creature's type of spark you have. I want to clarify again that I love the idea of this origin. I love the idea of basically being a soul mage and getting benefits from different creature types' essences. That said, the blood aspect of this origin is its heritage, which is essentially how every single sorcerer gets their magic, is their heritage. I would have less of an issue with this if the descriptive text for the King's Blood wasn't. Bloodlines are a powerful source of magic. Most kingdoms forbid the practice of blood sorcery, since many believe it relies on the strength of a noble lineage. Okay, having royal blood means you're powerful, I can get behind that. What I would like to see is some actual blood magic instead of soul magic with a description like that. Some of my other criticisms are more preferences, such as the fact that if you expend an elemental's life spark after hitting a creature with a weapon or spell attack, you can deal an extra 1d8 points of damage. The damage type, though, is bludgeoning or fire. Your choice. My gripe with that is that if I manage to capture, I don't know, a water elemental spirit, I would like to be able to use water. And hear me out, let me choose the elemental type and leave bludgeoning out. I think that would fit better. Overall, again, I would absolutely play this origin in a heartbeat. And I really am hoping that the next game that I have to make a sorcerer for, they're going to let me play this. But I don't think that this would be considered a blood magic type of sorcerer's origin. And I think with the blood mage, we're going to figure out where the title of this book is coming from. The blood mage. I want to start this by saying there are two variations of the blood mage tradition. I'm going to be talking about the first version, as this video is already getting a bit lengthy. If you're interested in the second version, or for details of anything else mentioned in the video, there's an affiliate link in the description box below for the supplement. So if you pick Blood Mage for your Wizard's Arcane Tradition, you're going to be starting out with Blood Savant and Blood Magic. Blood Savant is going to allow you to gain proficiency in medicine and double your proficiency bonus to any check made with that skill. You'll also regain 1 expended hit die when you perform the Arcane Recovery feature. The really exciting part is that you're going to be gaining blood magic. The information that I'm sharing is, again, from the first version of the Blood Mage. There is a second version. I don't have the time to go over that right now, and I apologize. The short version is that you're able to injure yourself and gain blood points, and the blood points are then going to allow you to do blood rituals. The next level I find to be of real interest, though, is 6th level when you get Cull the Blood. Essentially, you're now able to mess around with other people's blood. You will now have access to Blood Siphon, Mark of Blood, and Wellspring of Life. Blood Siphon is going to let you gain 1 blood point if you reduce a creature to 0 hit points with a melee or spell attack and it dies. Mark of Blood is going to let you spend 1 blood point as a reaction if your attack scores a critical hit against a living creature within 10 feet of you. After the blood point is spent, you gain advantage on attack rolls against that creature until the end of your next turn. Wellspring of Life is all about your death saving throw. If you make a death saving throw and roll a 19 or 20 on the d20, you regain 1d6 hit points instead of the normal. At 14th level, you regain 1d6 hit points when you roll an 18 to 20 on a death saving throw. Last in the good section here for the Blood Mage is my personal favorite, the Inheritor of Blood at 10th level. Inheritor of Blood is going to let you use other people's blood to bind your wounds. If you drop to 0 HP and do not die outright, you can make a DC 10 Constitution saving throw. If you succeed, 1 willing creature within 30 feet can expend a hit die and you regain a number of hit points equal to that result. If you need to use this feature multiple times, increase the DC by 5 every time until you take a short or long rest, in which case reset the DC to 10. I know I just said that the Inheritor of Blood is my favorite, but I do have one tiny little critique about it. I think I would like to have a way to be able to use the blood of my enemies to heal my wounds. I personally love the idea of being in the middle of a huge boss fight, falling almost dead and surely unconscious. And then my enemy is going to go focus on somebody else and start feeling his wounds leaking just a little bit more and noticing that I am healing my wounds with their life. It's just a thought. I thought it would be interesting. The only other thing I feel is really cool but not quite right with the rest of what's given is Burn the Blood at 6th level. It allows you to resist fire and psychic damage, and if you cast a 1st level spell or higher that deals psychic or fire damage, a wave of pain and anguish erupts from you and causes creatures of your choice within 10 feet to suffer psychic or fire damage. I don't feel that makes the most sense given how on point the rest of the features are in the Blood Mage. Overall, I think this supplement does give us some of what I would like to see in a blood magic supplement. That said, I also believe it could use a little bit of a rework. Some of the things I would personally change would be how the Sorcerer's origin works and the Barbarian's path. I would also like to suggest that the author absolutely fine-tunes their two types of blood mage into one version. That way, you don't have any confusion. Another big thing I would suggest is to really update the layout of the book. Before it even breaks down the class variants, it was just kind of set up odd. There's a theme section and a background section and a religion section, and each of those goes over the 4 different classes outside of their personal pages. And I just thought that was a little confusing, and it was hard for me to read. And there are several other things that are going on in the supplement, such as a new race, and there's some spells and some magic items. I felt like going into the different class options was really where the supplement was going to shine. I might not be using the whole supplement in any of my games other than the Sorcerer's Origin. I do feel the book will give at least some ideas for characters some people may not have thought of before. As always, there's an affiliate link down below. If you liked anything about the video, leave me a comment about what you found interesting, and I'll see you again next week.